joining us from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, we've got a heavyweight judoka, Marc Deschesnes. How you doing, Marc?
I am doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing great, my friend. Thank you very much for joining us. First and foremost, congratulations on winning the gold medal at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England. How does it feel?
Really good. I was pretty happy. It's been a long year with injuries and just felt great being on top of the podium.
For sure, for sure. And we want to get into that. We're going to dive right into the action and also to talk about your injury. So let's jump right into it. Your first match, Marc, was against a last name Antonio from Cyprus. What can you
Yeah.
tell us about this first match in Birmingham?
So he was a pretty young guy, cadet, I think, and I had seen some fights and like he had cadet judo, if that makes sense. Like attacks a lot. He was a bit excited, so I went in there and I just wanted to slow the pace down and just do my judo, like grip and like I knew probably physically would be a bit weaker. I would be stronger, but like it was, I didn't want to like get in situations that he would be able to attack. So just put my pace, slow down the fight, and I knew I would be okay.
What were your overall impressions of him as a competitor
I
since he
think
was a cadet?
he has some potential. Like for sure, I like he was a kid.
Right.
Like he missed maybe some strength, but like he had good techniques. He fought hard, and like I think he's somebody we can look to have good results in the future.
Very interesting. Now, you obviously you beat him. How did you beat him?
So if I remember correctly, I scored Wazari on the Sumigeshi,
Okay.
and then in the same sequence, I got him in Nevada.
Right on. So you beat him and you move on to your second match
Yeah,
against Liam Park from Australia. What
yeah.
can you tell us about this match against Park?
It wasn't the greatest match. Like he came out hard. Like he was pretty like excited, I think.
Mm.
So like I wanted to like wait the first minute, like let him get tired, and that's what happened. He got tired, then he went for a really bad attack, and I caught him. There was again with my kind of my signature move, the gator.
Right, we're going to be hearing a lot about that because we've seen the social media content, and it was hilarious. It was awesome. It was very cool, and the imagery and the pictures. But I wanted to know, you mentioned both your opponents were excited from the get go.
Yeah.
Is that excitement, as someone who's been around for a while? Are you translating that excitement and as nerves, or what? How did you interpret that? Because you said you wanted to slow this
For
down.
for me, it's the event. There was a crowd which we don't really have often in judo,
Right.
and like people that haven't been there too much, like you're gonna get excited to fight in front of fans and people screaming. It's different atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like people will be. It's gonna change the way they fight, I think.
Right. They're gonna get hyped up. They're gonna get in the
Yeah,
zone.
yeah.
And it's interesting. Like how do you react to crowds like that? Because it was a big crowd. It was a very hyped crowd from what I could see from the
Yeah.
videos. People were excited to be there. They're clearly hardcore. Well, they're judo fans,
Yeah,
and and
yeah.
and they know what they're seeing. They know the sport quite well. How do you react to an audience like that?
For me, it's just fun. Like I'm a huge sports fan, so I've been watching sporting events all my life. So for me, being in front of like a nice audience, it's just more fun.
For
Have
sure.
people screaming, even if they don't want you to win. It's better than have nobody screaming.
For sure, no, an engaged audience is key.
Yeah,
What other sports are you a fan of? You mentioned you're a
me,
sports fan.
football, MMA, hockey, pretty much all the sports, honestly. But
Very cool. Sorry, go
football
ahead.
is my favorite sport to watch.
Now you're a big guy. Obviously, you're in the heavyweight
Yeah.
division. Can you tell us how much do you weigh right now, roughly, and how tall
Right
are you?
now, like around 115
Okay,
kilos. Yeah.
okay. And can you
So that's like,
translate that for us people who are in the who don't know the kilos
yeah,
to pound conversion?
I
That's
think that's around 250 or
okay,
between 240 and 250.
right. And how tall are you?
6'3".
6'3". Have you played football and
I
hockey?
have.
Oh, you have.
In high
Okay,
school, yeah, yeah.
right on. So I
But
want to go. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, but I don't know. I was more of a individual sports guy, so judo was just perfect.
Right on, right on. We're
Yeah,
going to get into that because I'm curious to know as to how you got into the sport of judo. Now, in your gold medal match, you went up against Cody Andrews from New Zealand, and the video obviously is online. And I watched it, and I was at one point, I must say, I have to tell you, um, you have I've seen you fight before in Montreal. I've seen you fight live, and there's something when you walk to your fight, you have this walk that when I see it, I'm a fan of other combat sports. It's this walk that kind of translates like I'm gonna beat somebody up walk. You know what I'm saying? You have this very serious demeanor. You put your hands on your hips and you walk there. And in this match here, you went in there. It's as if like in your walk, I could tell like, yeah, this guy means business. This, you know what I'm saying? You're here to take someone's arm or to drop them on their head or to choke them out completely. And I don't mean to sound harsh in that contest. I know it's judo, it's a respectable sport, of
yeah.
course. But what I'm saying is you mean business when you're out there, and I could see that in your walk. What was going through your mind in the lead up to this match here as you were walking out with your coach?
Not much, honestly. Just don't make a dumb mistake.
Right.
Like I knew that guy, I could beat him. So, but I often make mistakes. So, just wanted to stay calm and do what I had to do.
What did your coach tell you, if you recall, before you stepped
Grip,
out?
grip. Don't take too many chances. And every time he goes to the ground, it was
Right. So Niwaza is your domain. You're very good at Niwaza,
yeah,
as
yeah.
I've seen
I
through
think
matches.
I'm not bad.
For sure. Now, but break it down for us, because this match was a quick one. You dominated right from the get-go. Break it down for us, please.
So if I remember correctly, it's first exchange. I grabbed him and he got, I don't know, he fell on his knees. I
Right.
don't know if that's what he wanted or I don't know. And then I got him Nuwaza, but not, I didn't catch him too well and he got out after, I think, 12 seconds. So I got the Wazari.
Right.
But I got him again.
Yeah, I mean, it's for anyone who's seen it, they'll see. Even the commentators will note that you were very strong and completely dominant there. No offense to your opponent, I don't think he stood a chance. Quite frankly, at that point, as soon as he felt your grip, it was almost like yikes. It was like game over. Now, obviously you win the gold medal. We see the photos of you doing the alligator or which is hilarious, which is cool. Well, what's the story behind that, if you don't mind? Give us a bit of context.
So it's been like, at first I was really bad in Newaza. Like when I was young and I was training at the National Center, I was getting beat up by everybody. But I kind of learned one move. It's not really a move. I'm just really strong with my legs. And I just learned to do that and started getting good. And I had an old judoka. He used to train with us, François Olivier Langto. He nicknamed it the Gator.
Okay.
And it just stuck and it's been the Gator since then. And sometimes we make fun and we make the gesture when I do it. And
But it's cool, man. It's
yeah,
marketable.
it just happened, yeah.
Yeah, no, and the video was cool. I think on the IGF they shared that. I'm sure you saw that on their
Yeah.
Instagram and their Facebook. And I'm like, wow, that's a it's a creative treatment there. The way they put it together, I thought that was awesome. Now, the next theme I want to talk about is injury, an injury, particularly the injury to your knee. But it appears as though you've probably had injuries before. But I just want to read a quote that I pulled from a Judo Canada news release that was released when you won the gold medal in Birmingham. C'était ma première compétition depuis ma blessure au genou. J'étais vraiment content de gagner. Now, in French, if you can answer the following questions, tell us about this knee injury, how it happened, and how you recovered from it.
So it was at the Grand Slam in Antalya.
Okay.
I got pretty hurt at the tournament during my fight. And then I got home.
C'était avec qui? C'était avec
Le Français.
Oh, Tarek.
Joseph Tarek.
Right.
In the second round. And yeah, I just heard my knee pop and had trouble getting off the mats. So I knew it wasn't good. And I got back in Montreal. I saw the doctor. Doctor was like, ew, not so good. But I had the Pan Am Championships like maybe 10 days after. So I decided to go. Wasn't my best idea, I think.
Right.
So yeah, so after the Pan Ams, I did the MRI. The meniscus was pretty torn, so I had to get surgery.
Wow.
Which I got June 30th. So like kind of exactly 1 month before the games.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was I didn't have the best preparation, but I did the best I could.
You did, and I mean, you made the podium for the gold medal, which is quite a remarkable achievement. Now, if you don't mind me asking, that this might be a little tough one. Had this injury like impacted you psychologically or mentally? You know, like because injuries, of course, have an impact on people, right? You're all planning for major tournaments. If it impacted you emotionally and psychologically and so on, how did you overcome it? How did you overcome that situation?
I don't think it had a big effect. Obviously, it's not fun, but I'm used to it. I know we're gonna get into it later, but I've had lots of knee injuries, lots of problems. So I kind of know that it's gonna happen once in a while. It's part of the sport.
Right.
But like what was tough was waiting for the surgery. Like at first I saw a surgeon, he told me fall for the surgery.
Right.
So that was hard. I was like, yeah, fall. I'm gonna miss the Commonwealth Games, the World Championships.
Right.
But then I got lucky at my club, Shirokan. There's a surgeon, the Dr. Lijbla, that does judo there. And
wow.
He's friends with JP and Sensei. And he kind of helped me get an appointment earlier. So yeah, I was pretty happy about that.
I bet that's awesome. Now you mentioned that you've had injuries. Obviously, injuries are like they're reality in any contact or combat sport or any sport. Unfortunately, at this high level that you guys compete in, can you give us kind of a brief summary of some of the injuries you've had, just to put in context?
So my knees, I've torn my ACL at 16 years old.
Wow.
Then got surgery, broke it again. So right now in my right knee, I don't have an ACL.
Wow.
And my left knee, I torn my ACL too. So basically in both my knees, I have no ACLs.
Wow, man, Yikes! That's
Yeah,
intense. That's
but
intense.
outside of that, I think I got lucky. I broke my ankle, but it was just like a fracture, so it healed easily.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my knees have had it rough, but outside of that, I got pretty lucky. And my ears are good, so that's the best.
How are your knees now? How are they feeling presently?
Okay,
Okay.
they're okay.
Right on. Now, what, Mark? I'm just curious to know. Winning, as you mentioned, you were very happy to win the gold medal, obviously because of the major hurdle, which was this injury, and you made it. You won the gold medal. You made the podium. What does this victory mean for you and your career and your journey in the sport?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. I mean, it's what does it mean when you look at your career? You've been competing
Yeah,
since 2008, right? You've been at it for quite some time,
yeah.
and you've won your first Commonwealth gold medal, your Commonwealth medal, pardon me. What in perspective, what does this milestone mean to you?
It's a gold medal in games, so like it doesn't count for qualification Olympics, but like it's a big event.
Right.
I don't know what to say, but it's just a good feeling. Like
Mm-hmm.
that day, I'll probably remember it for the rest of my life. And like, it's not the strongest tournament, but it's it's big. It's a huge event, and like I was proud.
Right on, right on. And of course, the Commonwealth Games are a global event.
Yeah,
There's many eyes on it from all over the world. So it is a big deal for any athlete competing in judo any of the other sports. So congratulations to you again. And I just want to talk about the next chapter here is the Pan American Oceania Senior Championships 2022 in Lima. And I mean, you competed at this one injured, correct?
yeah.
As you mentioned. Now, in that decision making of wanting to compete there, what why did you decide to compete? And I ask that respectfully. I know you're a competitor, you have a desire to get out there and fight, but you're injured. Can you
Yeah,
kind of paint that picture as to why you decided to still show up and represent?
I'm not even sure. Might be a little bit dumb, but I just wanting to fight. Yeah,
Right
like
on.
I love to fight. I love tournaments. That's why we train, and like it's Pan Ams. You always want to do it, and I still felt I could sneak on the podium.
Mm.
Like I couldn't do much Tachiwaza, but I knew I could do Newaza. My knee was good enough, but it was close. It
Right. And
wasn't the result I wanted, but I was close to making the podium.
for sure. And I mean, for just quickly, I just want to say, I think for most people, who've never competed, you have that desire for competition, and you will fight, even when you are hurt. And I think some people would respect that and even expect that, I suppose, as for someone who's competing in the sport at this level. So I mean, I respect your decision. I'm just a fan. I'm asking these questions, and I don't think for the most of us we'll ever understand that because we're not, you know what I mean, in your position, we're not
Yeah,
athletes at anywhere near of that level of dedication. But we hear that a lot. We hear athletes in various sports competing and even training while they're injured because that's what they do. This is their life's calling, their dedication to competition and their desire. Now let's break down your matches here in Lima at the Pan American Oceania Senior Championships. Your first match was against Sergio del Sol. Tell us about this match. From Mexico, Sergio from Mexico, I should say.
So if I remember well, I tried bringing him to the ground like for maybe the first minute and a half, because that was really my strategy. That tournament, I didn't want to do standing. I didn't feel comfortable with my knee, and didn't work the first minute. So I changed plan and I threw him. I got him Aragushi, I think.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice throw. Yeah. So that fight went well. Then I fought fight after the Cuban, right?
Right. Andy Granda from Cuba.
Yeah, pretty strong. I'm like, I might be 0-10 against him.
Oh, you fought him 10 times. You fought him many times, eh?
He was minus 100. Then we moved up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So we fought often, and he's a tricky guy to fight. He's, I wouldn't say passive, but he doesn't attack much, but he's strong and like explosive when he tries to attack. So my goal with him was win by shields. Try to make him. There was no way I could throw him. I have trouble normally, so like I knew like I couldn't throw him, so I tried to make him get shields. Like have the worst fight, the most boring fight, but like do whatever it took. But I think it went on maybe 3 minutes. It was 2-2 shields.
Okay.
And then we were on the side of the mat. He pushed me to get me the last shield because after 3 you're disqualified, right?
Right.
And so I had to circle back in the mat and throw. It was a nice throw, but he is pretty strong.
So you fought him many times, and overall, do you think this is someone that you could beat down the road if you had your day? Is this someone that's on your hit list?
I think it's frustrating because it's always tight, but I always lose. So yeah, I know I can beat him, but I've never done it.
Well, maybe it'll happen before you know it, because it's a possibility for sure. You were tied to two Shidos apiece, and as you mentioned, he threw you as you went back in, which takes us to the bronze medal match against Chilean judoka Francisco Solis. Before you tell us about this match, have you fought Solis before? Have you? Okay. Okay.
I had beaten him in Montreal at the Grand Prix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he's someone I know I can beat. And that fight, I didn't fight smart at all.
What happened? Can you break it down for us?
I don't think it was a long fight. Maybe 1 minute. First exchange, we ended up on the ground. I got him on the immobilization, and he got out at 19 seconds.
Wow.
So you have to pin him for 20 seconds for the ippon. He got out at 19 seconds. But it was weird. The referee he didn't call mate. Then after it was ippon, he said, oh, it was mate at 19 seconds. Like looking back at it, it was the right decision. But during the fight, I kind of thought I had win. I lost a bit of concentration.
Right.
So the sequence after, he went for Uchimata. And his Uchimata is basically just, he goes into Uchimata and he just starts jumping.
Right.
And so he's lefty, so his Uchimata was on my injured leg. So I should have just pushed him and don't engage with it, but I tried to counter him because I was frustrated. I thought the fight was supposed to be done.
Right.
And he just threw me a nice break fall I took. Big Ippon.
Right. Now, what looking back now, what we're talking about this match and this particular tournament, Mark. What would you say was the main takeaway from this experience? What did you learn from it? What did you take away from it, if you could sum it up?
Stay focused. Like I said, I think I said at the beginning of the interview, sometimes I do dumb things, and yeah, I've done often not things not so smart, and that was one of it. But I'm trying to work on it.
Right on. I mean, it's a situation where, as you're describing, where essentially you thought you had won, right? You thought you had pinned
Yeah,
in for Ippon, and you had won. And I guess that must have thrown you, as you mentioned, that must have thrown you off a little bit. And that frustration
yeah.
is a reality. How, if you don't mind me asking, how do you remain focused? Because it seems like you mentioned it a few times, the challenge of trying to stick to a plan and remain focused to it, and the objectives. What are you doing now to kind of to ensure that you remain focused? How do you go about doing that?
I think just forgetting about it. I am leading. It's a good position to be in. I don't have to be frustrated. Just like do the same thing. I
Mm,
I should have just waited and get him on the ground again. Like I knew that day I couldn't really do standing, so I don't know.
right,
Like it's just staying with the plan.
right. Now, you fought him? You mentioned you fought Solis a couple of times. How many times would you say you
I
fought
think
him?
just once, yeah,
Oh, just
once in
once
Montreal.
in Montreal. Okay,
But I fought him often in camps, and like I know him.
right. Now, 9 months ago, you were at the Abu Dhabi Grand Slam, and you made the podium there. You won the bronze medal. This
Yeah,
was, correct me if I'm wrong, this was the first ever medal at a Grand Slam. What did this victory mean for you at that time?
means a lot. Meant karting,
Mm-hmm.
meant money. It meant just it was the goal. Like I told my coach JP Kenton at the time, and I told him that was my next goal. It was to medal at either a Grand Prix or a Grand Slam. And yeah, that happened. It was a bit disappointing because my bronze I won by default.
You
I
still won
really
though.
want.
I mean,
Yeah,
your
I know,
opponent
but
he didn't
it's
show up. No,
yeah,
yeah,
he got injured, and
right.
but yeah, that was a bit disappointed. I was really disappointed, but like yeah,
Right.
looking back at it, it's not my fault. There's nothing I can do.
Right. Now, when you said you told your coach, JP Cantin, that was your goal, going into it, what was the plan, if you don't mind me asking? How much preparation did you do into the lead up? And if you don't mind, for those who are not familiar with the carding system and what all that means, can you give us a brief summary of that?
It's a bit complicated, but
Fair enough. You don't have to if it's
but
I
it's
get it. It's yeah.
you get this different standard with results depending on the level of the tournament, and basically you have to get a certain standard to be able to get a carding, but that depends on your age. It's really complicated.
Fair enough.
So me at my age, my situation, to get a carding, I needed to get a fifth place at a Grand Slam, I think.
Okay. And you obviously you won there. You made the podium, right? So
Yeah.
so you surpassed that goal. So you were able to secure that. Now, in preparation for this, did you work on anything in particular? What was the plan going into Abu Dhabi Grand Slam 2021? What
Not much, just fight.
just
Fight, go
fight?
there, fight, beat the first person that I fight, and then the second one.
Right.
Just, yeah.
So your the first opponent was a local UAE judoka. You beat him rather decisively and quickly.
Yeah.
Your second opponent was a heavyweight from Romania, Samanescu,
Oh yeah.
who's a very imposing.
He,
He's huge. He's very strong.
he's the biggest guy probably of the category.
Right, right. Can you tell us about this match and the challenge? I mean, even you standing beside him, he made you look he made you look small, which
Yeah.
was hilarious. Can you tell us about this match?
So he's big. He's really big. I think he's 180 kilos or something. So
Mm,
the goal was to move him, move him, move him, move him. And how did I lose that fight? I think I got stuck once he got his grip. He threw me Wazari
right.
and then fell directly into Newaza. Nothing I can do. I couldn't move if I remember well. But before that, I was doing a pretty good fight. But like one grip that I'm not in control. He's so big that it's over.
How do you you're in the heavyweight division and you're yourself a heavyweight, but do you have enough heavyweight training partners to deal with that? Because size matters, obviously, and I'm
Yeah,
not taking away from other sizes, but like as you described, when this guy grabs you and moves, you're feeling that momentum or that inertia, or you know what I mean? Like you're
yeah.
feeling the power, and you're like, how does one train for in
It's
this
hard.
head? Yeah, I imagine.
It's
You know,
hard because in Canada we don't have much heavyweights. Like it's it's like fighting Shadi is really strong and everything, but it's really different judo.
right?
Shadi moves like a 73 kilo, and these big guys they don't move like that. So it's hard when sometimes I go to tournaments and I haven't fought a real heavyweight for like 2 3 months.
Mm,
Now we have Big John who's coming up,
right.
cadet world
World
champion.
champion. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, he's gonna be a good training partner, but it's kind of only me and him right now. Heavyweights at the national center.
Hmm. Yeah, I actually want to ask you more about that in a bit. I'm really curious to know about that state of the heavyweight division and how one trains for it, because I think it's a big topic in terms of that when you don't have enough big bodies to train with, it can be quite you could be quite at a deficit. But you lose to Simonescu and you go and you face Tarek from France. What are your thoughts on your opponent here in this particular match in Repechage?
I know him a lot. He had beaten me right before COVID. A fight that I was dominating. I was winning by Wazari, and he countered me. So I knew what he would do. He likes to counter. He likes to drop, and that time it was the opposite. He scored Wazari, and then I got him on the ground.
Right.
So it felt good to like get my revenge from. I think it was the tournament was in Poland. Yeah, from Poland. Felt really good.
Right on. And I mean, you got him, I think, with that Gator,
Gator, yeah,
with the Gator for
yes,
sure.
yeah.
And obviously you move on now to the bronze medal match, as you mentioned. You're supposed to be fighting Ukraine's Bavaleski, and he's injured. He doesn't show up, but you win by default. In the lead up to that, going into the bronze medal match, how early did you know that he wasn't that he was injured? It was yeah,
We were watching his semi. He
right.
lost his semi and he had trouble walking. We just saw him get in the warm up area. He
Mm,
got his luggage and he left. So we were like, yeah, no, he's not fighting. But
right.
yeah, I was like, I didn't know how to feel about it. I wanted to
Sure.
fight, but at the same time, bronze medal. It's a
Right.
strange feeling.
I can only imagine it is strange, right? Because you know it's but at the end of the day, it's a reality of the sport. You know, people have to show up, and in his case, he was unable to due to injury. So you know,
Yeah,
you won. So congratulations on winning that. And as you mentioned, it was significant for you at the time for a few reasons. But I kind of wanted to shift over to the topic of being a heavyweight because you know you fought initially. I believe you fought in when you started competing in '08. You started in the minus 81. You moved up from there to 90. Then you moved up to under 100, I believe, all the way to over 100. Now, as a heavyweight, what would you say are some of the challenges competing in this division? What's it like training and competing at this weight? I know we kind of just spoke about it, but as someone who's transitioned over the years in all these different divisions and has continuously, you know, evolved to become the heavyweight that you are today, what do you see as some of the unique challenges for competitors in your division, in the heavyweight division?
they're big. They're huge. I
Right.
used to be the tallest 100, like, and now I'm the smallest of the category. So
Wow.
it's just that is it's a big change.
Mm.
And for me, cardio has been tough because I train a lot in hypertrophy and I've gained a lot of muscle and I use more strength than probably anyone else because I have to fight bigger guys, and so I kind of used to get tired quickly. I think it's getting better,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that has been a challenge.
So the theme of cardio has been a challenge, yeah?
Yeah, not cardio, but being able to, because I use a lot of strength when I fight. I'm not the most technical, but like I use every ounce of strength I have. So being able to use my strength for maybe 5 or 5 minutes, that's been a challenge.
Mm.
So yeah, our physical trainer is making us do some circuits. We did it this morning. It sucks. I hate it, but it's good. It helps.
Right on. And when you're competing, are you still at are you still floating around at 250, 250 pounds,
Yeah,
or
I'm
okay.
always the same weight. Yeah, my weight is super stable.
Okay.
Like I
Interesting.
tried to get a little bit bigger, but it's not happening.
Oh, were you hoping to get even a bit bigger than 250?
The goal was probably 120, but no,
Wow.
no.
Wow. So you've physically reached your limit.
I think
You
I
think
think
so?
so. I don't think I can gain more weight.
Well, what does your diet generally consist of? Would you say like a lot of protein and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. All right.
fruit,
So sorry, go ahead.
chocolate milk, egg whites, chicken, rice, everything.
Right on. Now, in your opinion, is the heavyweight division the most exciting and entertaining division? Also, are heavyweights from this generation different from the past? And if so, how would you differentiate them? So the first part of the question is like, you know, and I know you're obviously fighting the heavyweight division, uh, but as a fan of the sport, do you find it to be the most exciting slash entertaining division?
Is it the most exciting? I'm not sure. I really like the minus 100,
Mm,
but the plus, it's different. I think it's less technical. Like there, there's more trolls because it's less technical, and people are less not athletic, but like if you get thrown, people won't do a backflip and end up on their knees like a 60 kilo. So
right.
there are probably more scores, but there are also some fights, like bad fights, are really boring in
Mm,
the plus 100 category.
right.
So like it's either it's pretty good or really bad. There's no like okay fights. That's my opinion. And as for what was the second part?
This second part of the question is differentiating between this generation of heavyweights
Yeah,
and previous generation of heavyweights in terms of um, is there a difference between them? If so, how would you assess that difference? How is this generation different than previous generation of heavyweights?
I think there's more athletic plus athletic heavyweights,
Right,
and less big guys like the Romanians,
right,
and more people like 115, 120. Kirpalik, the Czech
right,
that he won the Olympics,
right.
he used to fight 100. He's not so big, so I think there's more athletic plus, like more smaller guys that more
Or more
fit. Yeah,
more explosive, more
yeah.
athletic, as you described.
Yeah,
And it's interesting because it adds to the mix, and I guess to a certain degree it makes it more entertaining to watch. I suppose when you have more of that balance between very strong, very agile, and explosive. I agree with that. Now a follow up question for you as a heavyweight: what would you say are your strengths? And what are you doing to further your overall approach to competing in judo?
strengths. I think I'm pretty strong. I have good newaza, good gripping, and we touched on it, but I need to fight smarter.
Right, right,
Yeah, so yeah, especially with the big guys, because there are people kind of know it's gonna be hard to throw them, and like I need to be smarter, learn to win on penalties, which I hate. I used to always want to do ippon and throw or get newaza, but
right.
it's okay to win by penalties. And yeah, I think that's one of the main things I'm working on.
Right on. And speak to us about the Niwaza aspect because as a heavyweight, like, do you see a lot of Niwaza action from heavyweights? And I mean, you mentioned Kaparlik. You fought him a couple of times, and he's known for his Niwaza, right? So
Yeah,
how was that? How was it fighting against him? I think you fought him what three times or so, three times, two times, more than that
fought
maybe.
him twice.
You fought him twice, and once in Montreal, I
Yeah,
believe.
in Montreal, he pretty much destroyed me.
Hmm.
Like,
How did you find his overall his were you expecting to go to the ground
no,
for that one?
I wasn't expecting him to be that strong, and
Mm,
like at the time, it was the strongest guy I had done judo with.
wow.
But then maybe 1 year after, I fought him in Turkey,
Right.
and it was really a different fight. I felt like I was in the fight. I got him to take Shido. Like I didn't do a bad fight. I lost. He caught me, but like I would like to have a third try at him.
Right on. Hopefully that happens. But as far as Niwaza, what
Yeah.
would you say like is do you see a lot of other heavyweights explore that or no?
No, and even in the smaller categories, there's a lot of countries that don't really do newaza.
Mhm.
They don't like it, so it's a part of judo that us in Canada we can take advantage. I think.
Yeah, as you should, because the Canadian Niwaza is certainly solid. Why do you think we don't see some of these other countries, especially at the heavyweight division, like
I don't know.
no?
They don't seem to be interested. Like we go in training camps and we do a couple of rounds, and the Russians are just rolling around during the was fights. They don't seem too interested.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's as a fan of grappling and Niwaza, and it's a damn shame that we don't see more of that, quite frankly, because I think it's just as exciting as the stand up. Maybe that's just a North American sort of bias, because as you know, Niwaza based grappling is quite popular here, right, in
Yeah,
North
yeah.
America and in Canada, and I think the audience here certainly has a deeper appreciation for it, and we know that Judo Niwaza has quite a lot of to offer, and it's very entertaining. And I guess I'm just saying we hope to see more of your Niwaza and more heavyweights explore it. But I wanted to also ask you, and you've answered it already, but in terms of, so there aren't a lot of bodies in the heavyweight division to train with, at least at the elite level in this country. If you were to coach strictly heavyweight judokas, what would you, as a coach, what would you focus on with this group of heavyweight judokas? So let's say you had five or six. I know it's kind of a random question. Let's say you have five or six bodies ranging from 6'3" to 6'7", anywhere from whatever 110 to 140 kilos. What would you focus? How would you coach a heavyweight judoka, and what do you think makes a really good heavyweight judoka?
I think you need the strength for sure. There's no way around it. That category, you need to be strong. So lots of weights. I think great gripping is important. Like, I'm not sure, I'm not a coach, but grip, strength, and learn a couple techniques. Like, heavyweight judo is not as complicated, I think. It's more like, not, I don't know what to say, but like, keep it simple.
Right.
Yeah. And grip, attack, be strong on the grip. I think that's the basics of big guy judo.
Now, do you ever see yourself coaching down the road? You don't see? Okay, interesting. That's
I don't
interesting.
think so.
Interesting.
It's not for me. I don't have that patience. And
right.
Like, I know it's hard, and I'm not ready for that.
Fair enough. It's good. It's good that you know what you like and what you don't like, right? I mean, it's that's a big part of the formula, or figuring out the formula. Now, you mentioned Kaperlik, but I'll still ask you this question: who's the toughest opponent you've ever fought in a tournament, and would you fight them again?
It has to be Kaperlik, and I want to fight him again.
Now, if there was a number two for that,
number two,
who would that be and why?
Yeah, give me Granda again, the Cuban.
Okay.
I need to fight. I need to beat him. I can't finish my career when I need to beat him once.
Right. Well, hopefully, okay, interesting. Hopefully, he shows up at the next tournament you're at, so you can make that happen. Now, in terms of training, who's the toughest opponent you've ever trained with, and who's really pushed you to your limits in a training context?
For a lot. I remember, when was it? 2017, 2018. We went to Russia training camp in Ekaterinburg, and all these Russians, like, that I didn't know, like, random Russians. They were so strong.
Oh yeah. And
there's one. I'm thinking there's one. Zalashvili from Georgia.
Okay.
We were in the training camp in Turkey, And I don't know why he wanted to fight me all the time. Man, he would destroy me every single fight.
What would he do? How would he destroy you? What?
Uranage,
Oh Jesus!
Sode, yeah.
Oh man! Good
After
Lord!
every tournament, I was with Etienne Briand at the camp, and I was telling him, "Oh my God, he destroyed me again."
Wow! Wow!
Yeah.
Going back to those training camps, what's the mood and atmosphere like? How intense is it? Is it friendly? Is it competitive? I guess it depends where you're at and who you're there with. But tell us a story, a funny story, or maybe not a funny story, but a story where the training got so intense that you thought it was a tournament.
Oh, a lot of times people like they have to be separate in the middle of the mats.
Wow!
But me, no, I don't have any stories. I keep it respectful
Right.
in camps, but you see that at the beginning when everybody's in the good mood, everybody has energy, and like the last days of camp, it's everybody's on like tired, and the mood starts like everybody gets mad easily, and
Right.
those are tough. The long camps, like Paris camp, it's pretty hard. Like I said, the Russian camp for me was one of the worst I did. Um,
What was it? Was it a beneficial camp though, or was it just
for
for
sure.
sure? Eh? Now, let me ask you this question: if you were at that sort of, if you had access to bodies like that in terms of heavyweights on regularly, what do you think would happen to heavyweights judo in
It
terms
will
of
help.
it would help? Yeah.
I think my career could have been a bit different. Like, there's no way around it. If you fight 6, 7 different strong big guys every night, or fight the same 2, 3 people, it's for sure you'll get better. But
Right.
like
Now, in
camp
those, sorry, go ahead, please.
camps for us, it's expensive, and there's not much we can do. We do the best we can with what we have here,
Right.
and it's hard.
Now, how many rounds of randori would you be doing with these heavyweights? Like at the camp you mentioned, like you just paint that picture because, like, is it 10? Is it 5? Is it like what are we looking at here?
I'd say from 8 to 12. Yeah,
Wow, wow.
yeah.
So, but by the end of it, you're completely flat. Like you're exhausted and tired. I
I,
would imagine.
everything hurts.
Wow. Jeez, that's brutal, man. That's fascinating. Now let's transition to the topic of your history in the sport because you're a sports fan, you're a hockey fan, you're a football fan, and a bunch
Yeah.
of other combat sports. You know, I would imagine you're a fan of the Dolphins. You played football
Yeah.
in high school. Now, how did you get involved in judo, and when did you decide to focus on it and possibly push these other sports to the side?
So I started judo in elementary school, kindergarten. Actually, it was a club. They would come and put judo mats in the gym, and once a week we would do judo after school. And I really liked it. I would beat the older kids, and then I started going on Friday night at a different school, and then on Saturday morning. So at one point, I was doing it 3 times a week. It wasn't really the club didn't do many tournaments. It was more recreational. So
Sure.
at some point, I switched clubs. I went to Metropolitain, Club de Judo Metropolitain. I did 1 year there.
Is that in Laval?
No, it's Saint-Pierre Charbonneau.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Montreal, on
Okay.
sick, and then switched to Shidokan the year after. I think I might be. I was 12 or 11 or 12. Yeah.
Now, as someone who's played all these other sports that we mentioned earlier, when did you decide to kind of focus in on judo and possibly like let go of these other activities?
So I played baseball, football, and judo
Wow.
growing up, and baseball I would always hurt my shoulder. Like the last 2 years, I did baseball. At the end of the year, I couldn't throw the ball. I was hurting too much, so it kind of just came naturally. And then it was football and judo. But I don't know, football is too much of a team sport. I just got, I don't know. I just like judo more. The opportunities were better. Like you start doing international tournaments, while football you play for the provincial championship.
Right.
So I just decided to stick to judo.
What position did you play in football? What were you?
The D line, defensive on the defensive line.
Right on. Now, do you, when you look back now at, were there ever times where you used aspects of judo in football?
I don't know. It's been a long time. Huh?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Probably.
Fair enough. Now, do you have siblings? Do you have a brother, like a brother, sister?
I have a younger sister.
Is she involved in the sport of judo as well?
No, she's never. I think she did like 1 month of judo, didn't like it, and
right. What do friends and family think about your involvement in the sport and you know, competing abroad, competing internationally, and so on? Well, what do you think about it?
Everybody is really supportive.
That's awesome.
Couldn't have done that without my family for sure. Like it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time. It's like I wouldn't be here without. It's impossible.
For sure. I mean, it's a way of life, some would say, right? And I mean, you're doing it, and I'm curious to know, motivation wise, why do you compete? What motivates you to fight, Marc?
It's fun. it's like it's a reason to get up every morning. It's motivation. It's like I don't think there's a better feeling to fight at the tournament. It's adrenaline. It's fun.
Yeah, and I mean it's a unique experience as well because you guys are part of a, you know, small percentile, a very small percentile in the world that are involved. You know what I mean? Competing at that highest level in this tough sport. So you guys have a very unique lifestyle. You know what I mean? You're doing what you love. You're competing out there, and it's interesting. What are your goals in the sport? What when you're dreaming about judo in terms of goals and objectives? Do you what comes to mind?
For sure, there's the Olympics in 2 years. It's on the back of my mind, but right now, honestly, I'm going one tournament at a time. So right now it's Worlds, and after that we'll see. Goal is Worlds.
Right on. Right on.
I don't look too much ahead because everything changes. I can blow out my knee again. So next mission is Worlds, and we'll see after. We'll see after.
Sounds good. Now, what on the topic of motivation again? Like you know, just speaking to you, you know, you had an injury. You overcame the injury, and from there you went to a tournament and you made the podium, which is an incredible sort of sequence of events, right? It's an awesome. It's like the perfect scenario. What keeps you in the fight, Marc? What keeps you motivated to pursue these goals? Because as you mentioned, there's a lot of ups and downs and unpredictability along the way, right? There's always a change in plans, change of direction. being on the mats or off the mats with life, etc. What keeps you in the fight?
Won't lie. Some days at training, I ask myself that question.
Sure, sure. No,
But
it's
I think it's days like the Commonwealth Games, the good days, the enjoyment you get when you win. It's a really great feeling, and like I don't, it's hard to get anywhere else.
sure.
Like you work hard for something, then you win. It's a pretty great feeling.
No, I could only imagine. I mean, it's a sense of accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
It's monumental. It's tied to your goals. It's tied. I mean, you invest so much time and energy, and like as fans, and by the way, I appreciate all your answers. I know some of these questions are not easy to answer, right? I mean, I wouldn't be able to answer any of these myself. That's why I'm the guy asking it, of course. But I wanted to know, what would you say is the most misunderstood aspect of the sport of judo for fans like myself and others? What would you say is the most misunderstood? Because as someone who's competing, who's living this lifestyle, going abroad, you're putting in X amount of time in training. You're to some extent, you're probably sacrificing this, that, and the other. It's a unique sort of scenario. As fans, what are we not seeing, or what are we misunderstanding?
Think people don't know anything about judo. To be fair,
Myself included.
Yeah, like, but just sometimes, just like athletes in general, I just think people think it's easy. Sometimes I have that feeling that like they really think it's easy. Like I did some interviews for job this fall, and I got a question, and I couldn't believe it. So the woman asked me if I had registered for the Olympic Games.
Wow.
So like, yeah.
How the hell did you answer to that? Like, how did you react? How did you
that
react?
you have to qualify, that there's tournaments, but I was like, yeah, okay. People don't like. For me, it's like I understand all the sacrifice, all the effort that we put in, but I didn't like. I didn't know that some people just
they're clueless.
They didn't get it. Yeah, for them it's something that they absolutely don't understand.
This is fascinating. Sorry, please continue. Go ahead.
No, that was that. Like, I just was like, oh.
Right. It's fascinating. I find that scenario there, that this individual asked if you had to register for it. I mean, to some extent, it possibly goes to show the lack of awareness on
for sure
these sports. But beyond the sports, the time like how long-term sort of investment, emotional, physical, psychological, financial, and so on, right? For the sport of judo and other, I have to say, other Olympic sports. And I mean, it almost begs the question as to whether people are aware of not just the sacrifice, but how qualifications and how one makes it to it. Because it seems that, I mean, there's a whole new generation of combat sports fans who seem to think, and it's not their fault, that you qualify because you're on a reality TV show. Like on the MMA side, I'm speaking in particular, right?
Yeah.
So the focus is more, and it's not to take away from that sport. I'm a fan of that sport, but it's more becoming une vedette, becoming a superstar. You know what I mean? And then having some mediocre fighting skills in XYZ style, and then becoming some sort of sports entertainer, more along the lines of professional wrestling, which I'm not knocking. I'm a fan of that genre of combat as well. Yes, it's a genre of combat, but it's more of an act, right? So and I think it's interesting, because I think the amateur sports unfortunately get overlooked sometimes, because You know what I mean? Not sometimes,
For
all the
sure.
time, all the time.
People
I
see amateur sports 2 weeks every 4 years,
right.
the Olympics. So it's kind of normal that people just think it's the Olympic Games, but there's a lot
Yeah.
more to it.
There is, and it's I try to engage in conversation as a fan of these sports with folks, and sometimes I'm baffled because uh and I'm approaching it as a fan. I'm not an expert by any means, but it's like the lack of awareness in terms of there's a sport called judo, and the people who compete are not folks who are necessarily who just started last weekend because you know what I mean, like who they know how to play guard, and you know what I'm saying, like they've been competing for a long time, they've qualified, and it's the quality of fighting an athlete is at a whole different genre and level. Some pockets of the world tend to value amateur sports more so or on par to professional combat sports. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
and some others, for whatever reason, don't. But I think there has to be more education on that, right? And more access to information. And for judo, I find, as someone who follows these international sporting bodies for judo, for wrestling, for MMA. Like I follow them and I see the content they're putting out. I think they're doing a lot of effort to kind of educate people, but I think you got to get outside of the bubble. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
judo fan. You know what I'm
Get the
saying?
casual fans, the people that don't know anything about it. Yeah,
They're an important demographic. Sorry, I'm getting carried away here talking.
yeah, it's okay.
I'll shut up. Sorry, I'd rather hear you. I'm sure people rather hear you speak than me. But I'll ask this next question for you. And by the way, I appreciate that honest response from having someone tell you at a job interview if you need to register for the Olympics. You should almost put that on a T-shirt and sell it. Like, who the hell says that? Lord have mercy. Anyways, thus far, I want to know what has been the greatest moment for you in the sport of judo. If you can tell us that story thus far, what's been the greatest moment, and it can be from the time you started in kindergarten to your last tournament.
I think it still has to be my first senior medal in Chile. I won the, was it called? Yeah, it was Pan American Open. It was called in Chile, 2014. It
Okay.
was my first medal. I won the tournament. Like, I was pretty happy. It gave me the carding, and yeah, it was maybe my third senior tournament, and I went there. I had no expectations. I won.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was really happy.
Right on. Do you still
Gonna
think
be
about?
our sorry.
Sorry. Do you still think about that moment when you
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah,
won?
yeah. I'll remember it for all my life for sure.
Right on. And that's in Santiago in 2014, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's almost
So 10 years now.
10 years, yes. And we're going into 2024, of
Yeah,
course, summer 2024. You know what that is? That's
yeah.
the Summer
Paris.
Olympic Games. So
Yeah.
this is very interesting. Who would you say has been the most instrumental person in your judo development over the years? Now, this can be someone in the sport, or it could be more than one person. It could be someone in the sport or someone completely outside of the sport, like a non-competitor, non-coach. Like who's been the most, you know, or you can name more than one, I guess.
So I don't know. In judo, I think I have to go with Sensei Nakamura. He built me. I
Wow.
think he's a big part of who I am now. And my mom who supported me ever since I'm a little baby.
Right, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think
Uh,
these two, like, there's no way I would be here without these two, but there are so many people, all the coaches that have helped me, everyone.
For sure. No, it's interesting what you answered there, and I realize obviously it's a community. There's always more
Yeah.
than one, but those two obviously are, I would imagine, very instrumental. Now, just two more questions for you. I know I'm going over our time here, but what's the best advice you've ever been given in the sport?
But we'll come back to Sensei Nakamura. He used to always say, "No pain, no gain."
Wow.
And I think it pretty much summarizes judo.
No pain, no gain, eh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Now, when is your next tournament, Mark?
It's Worlds in October in Tashkent.
Right. In Uzbekistan, right?
Yeah.
Uzbekistan. Now, in preparation for it, you said it's in October, right? So that's
Yeah.
2 months from now. What are you doing in the lead up for it? Well, what are you working on, and what's your plan?
So this week we started like really hard training, lots of fights, circuits, still doing weights, and I won't lie, today I'm really tired. It was a hard week, so I think it's gonna be like that the next couple of weeks, and then like slow down a little bit the week before. But yeah, it's lots of rounds. Just try to be as ready as I can.
Right on, man. Well, you know what? I hope my questions haven't annoyed you. I know when people are
No,
tired, sometimes you just
absolutely not.
they want to suplex the person asking the questions. But thank you very much for your time, and all the best at Worlds and in your training and into the lead up. I'm looking forward to seeing you. We're all looking forward to seeing you compete, and we want to wish you all the best, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.